And tonight on the Great American Panel, he is a nationally syndicated radio talk show host, author of, it's going to anger my friend Neil Bortz, the fair tax fantasy. Hugh Hewitt is here. He has sold over 50 million albums, starred in more than a dozen movies. The original American Idol legendary entertainer Pat Boone is back, and she is a former advisor to Senate Majority Leader Prince Harry Reid. And by the way, who has a 50% disapproval rating. And former communications director for Governor Ed Rendell, Penny Lee.
You love that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm trying to drive it, lower.
Well, I think if you keep talking, he'll actually raise it a a little bit higher.
Oh, is that right? So yeah, I help him.
You help him.
All right.
Absolutely.
I will not mention him for the rest of the
Keep talking.
Hugh, we know that Rush has really created an industry for all of us. We're the beneficiaries of it. He defines talk radio. Pat, you were telling me you're a fan of Rush.
Oh, yeah.
And, all right, so
Ditto head.
You're a ditto head, okay.
Yeah.
And I know him, love him personally, and he resigned today as the head of the, ladies and gentlemen, Rush resigned as the head of the Republican Party. Let's roll the tape.
I resign as the titular head of the Republican Party. There, frankly, is someone far more qualified and capable and more in tune with today's Republican Party than I to be not only its titular head, but its real head. And that would be General Colin Powell. So I now pass the baton to General Powell as the titular head of the Republican Party.
All right, you gotta love this.
Humor, irony. Rush Limbaugh invented the format that, as you said, we all benefit from in the radio business. And every day he comes up with something new, and he makes all the headlines, and he puts the knife into his opponents, and he does it with a smile, Sean. It's really something else.
It's an art form that we could all aspire to one day. I mean, but he makes a very important point here. Because wasn't this the same Colin Powell that was telling us that people want more government? People want higher taxes, Pat?
Yeah. I once thought that the Republicans should have nominated Colin Powell because I thought we could certainly win the election. And I respected his military record and all that, but I've been so surprised at some of the decisions and the positions that he takes. About Rush, I think he relished saying titular too much. He just kept saying titular. I think he was enjoying that. But of course, he has been a major influence and is a major influence. And I see why he's very unhappy with Colin Powell.
Listen, more importantly for me is that I think the Republican Party, Michael Steele addressed this week, did lose its way. I think they did spend too much money. And I think the path back, especially with Barack Obama as president, is fairly easy for the Republicans. The party of homeland security, national security, fiscal integrity, responsibility, lower taxes, no more earmarks, energy independence, free market solutions for health care and education. That's it.
Well, we'd actually agree with you totally.
Well, we'd actually like to see where that Republican Party is. I mean, today, what did they do?
I just articulated it right there.
But where are the other people that are following? What did they do today? Their big policy position that they took today from the whole party was to rename the Democratic Party, the Democratic Socialist Party. That really is going to bring back jobs into America? That really is going to advance it back? These are just, games that they're out there playing. What they need to do is
if that were all they were doing, I would say yes. Look, I think, Hugh, they have. Look, I'm a conservative, a Reagan conservative myself, and I always have been in all the years the 20-some-odd years I've been on radio, et cetera.
We are too.
All right, I'm a Reagan conservative, but I do sense an opening for the Republican Party. Now, whether or not they take it, I don't know if they're going to, but against the backdrop of record deficits, weakening national defense, the moment is now for them to grab the mantle.
And the message came out of California yesterday, Sean, and we're going to talk about it tonight. Loud and clear that we are overtaxed, that the spending is out of control, that the Democrat Congress run by your former boss, and God love all Democrats, we're not saying we're just saying they're very misguided, and they are bankrupting the country, and they are doing so at record pace, and people are alarmed. I just got done doing a 12-city tour with Bill Bennett and Medved and Prager, a bunch of our friends, and at every stop, hundreds, if not thousands of people show up, as you run into when you did your book signing out there with Mark Levin, the great one.
Thank me.
They're done.
Yeah.
They've paid too much. They don't want this national socialization of health care. They don't want more taxes, and the California vote is a real warning shot across the Democrats'
but let me raise a point,
Sure.
because your former boss has a
Sure.
50% disapproval rating 18 months out of an election.
Sure.
Chris Dodd is down in Connecticut. John Corzine is down. Virginia's looking good for Republicans. Delaware's looking good for Republicans. Are you ignoring?
Delaware, we just won.
Well, how do you
Democrats
explain a
just
blue state like California,
Run by-
overwhelmingly
run-
saying no more taxes?
Run by a Republican? Run by a Republican that has bankrupted that state?
Which Republican is that?
Well, that is your
No, I'm not sure.
that is who
Different kind of Republican.
Well, he is going after with Republican mantras. So this is someone, again, this is the face of the Republican Party.
Why does
This is
Harry Reid have a 50% disapproval rating?
There's all different kinds of reasons for it.
Well, give me one.
One of them is the fact that for 8 years he battled against George W. Bush, and for 8 years he had to sit there and say, we're not going to take it anymore. We're going to change the way of America.
Yeah,
and
when
so
he
now,
said the surge has failed and the war is lost, that was really battling President
yeah,
Bush.
but
That
now
sounded like he was battling
what are they doing now? They're
our
bringing
troops.
back jobs.
Well, and emboldening our enemies. Pat?
Yeah, I live in California, and Hugh does too, and we've watched. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is the same kind of Republican that he is Catholic. He wears the name, but he doesn't play the game, and he has bought into all of the. He spent $3 billion on stem cell, embryonic stem cell research. And he wonders where the money went. And since he did that, since he committed those funds, the scientists have discovered we don't need embryonic stem cells. We can use adult stem cells for the same purposes.
The question is, and I think for the Republicans, there is the Colin Powell, who's now a Democrat.
Yeah.
There's this argument that they've got to move to the left. I think if they go back to simple Reagan principles on homeland security and on economics, I think the comparison with Barack Obama is going to be dramatic, and therein creates an opening for them.
So 2010 could be very good for us if, in fact, Arnold can recover. If Arnold comes in and cuts the government by 20%, as he said he has to do, he can recover.
And
but he
Obama
has to do it.
has a chance to be the next Herbert Hoover.
Well, I don't disagree with that.
Or the next Ronald Reagan.
I think you're dreaming. He's not. Listen, I've studied Ronald Reagan, read every speech of Ronald Reagan. Trust me, Barack Obama is no Ronald Reagan. He just isn't. But
called for.
All right, let me go to the FBI director. Now, we've been dealing with all the Gitmo detainees and the idea that we would even consider releasing them into the United States or releasing them at all. And it's interesting to watch the reversal of the Obama administration, like many things. I guess, campaigning is different from actual governance. But here's the FBI director saying that he's concerned that these detainees would support terrorism if released in the U.S.
The concerns we have about individuals who may support terrorism being in the United States run from concerns about providing financing to terrorists, radicalizing others with regard to extreme violent extremism, the potential for individuals undertaking attacks in the United States.
By the way, Penny, even Harry Reid with a 50% disapproval rating, in case I forgot to mention that, even he doesn't want them and says it's not going to happen. They're not going to release them. And the Congress said, no, we're not going to give you the money to close Gitmo.
What they said was they are not going to allow for the transfer. What they want to see is a plan from the Barack Obama administration.
He did this on his third day. Where's the plan?
No, what he said was, he said, let's take a year. Let's do a task force with military and security experts to figure out what we were going to do with these prisoners and how we were actually going to close down. There's no question that Gitmo should be closed. There is
absolutely wrong.
No, that is
absolutely. One prisoner from Gitmo
we didn't say that the prisoners. We're not saying that the prisoners are coming to the United States. We are not saying that they are coming to the United States. What we are saying is that Gitmo needs to. Gitmo has made us America less safe.
Okay, one, San Quentin. California is going to sell San Quentin. Who's going to buy it? That's a great place to put those prisoners. Or I want to send them to Antarctica. Some barracks, fly them over there.
Is that the equivalent of Siberia?
It is. Drop food in there, let them live together in the icy confines of Antarctica, and compare that to the harsh treatment
well, they may
got
actually
at
get a
Guantanamo.
suntan if you believe in the global warming theories.
Better plan than the Democrats.
All right, guys, good panel. Thank you for being with us.